You ever have one of those days where everything almost feels normal until it doesn't? For me, that day was a Thursday. Crisp sky, coffee just right, and I even hit all green lights on the way home. Felt like the universe was giving me a wink. Should have known it was just pulling back the slingshot. I walked into the house around 6:30. My wife, Elise, was at the dining table, her laptop open but her eyes glazed over like she was watching a show only she could see. She didn't even look up. "Hey babe," I said, tossing my keys in the bowl like always. She flinched. Not a big one, but enough. That was the first crack. "How was work?" I asked, unbuttoning my sleeves. "Fine." She replied too fast, like she had rehearsed the answer in her head 3 times before I got home. Now here's the thing. Elise is a lot of things, quick-witted, a little chaotic, a serial misplacer of car keys. But a bad liar? Not one of them. So when she said fine, like it had teeth in it, I took notice. I played it cool. That's my specialty. Calm seas even if there's a shark fin slicing the water. "What's for dinner?" She blinked at me. "Oh, I already ate. Wasn't sure when you'd be home." Another crack. Elise never eats alone. Even when I work late. She waits, and we do the whole small talk over salmon bit. This wasn't salmon. This was something else entirely. And then, like fate wanted to drop a bowling ball on my spine, her phone lit up on the table. Just a little buzz. Nothing dramatic. But I caught the name. Marcus. No last name. Just Marcus. Casual. Like he was someone she ordered succulents from. She didn't move. Didn't flip the phone over. Just stared straight ahead and said, "You seem tense." Oh, I was. But not for the reason she thought. I shrugged. "Long day." And she said, "You should take a walk." Take a walk. Like I was a dog. Or maybe like she was trying to buy herself 30 minutes. I almost said something. Almost. But instead, I went out back, sat on the steps with a beer, and stared into the dark like it might hand me the truth. Because something was coming. I could feel it in my bones. The ground hadn't split yet, but I could hear the creak, and so there I was, on the back steps, sipping beer like it could drown suspicion. Spoiler, it can't. You can't drink away instincts. They float. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. The porch light flickered like it was in on the secret. I went back inside, quiet, like I was sneaking into someone else's life. Elise was still at the table, phone in hand now, thumbs moving fast. Too fast for an Amazon return. She didn't notice me. I cleared my throat. She jumped, then smiled. "You startled me." That's the thing about guilt. It forgets to act natural. I nodded toward her phone. "Who's Marcus?" Boom. Just like that, the temperature dropped 5 degrees. She blinked, a second too slow, then tilted her head like she was the one confused. "Marcus? He's just someone from work." Right. The classic, just someone. The Swiss Army knife of excuses. "Elise," I said calm and flat. "I saw the texts. Now, here's the catch. I hadn't. Not yet. But poker face? I've got that in spades." She froze. For a second. Just one. Then she exhaled, like a balloon giving up. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "I don't know," she said. "It just happened." Funny how betrayal always just happens, like a pothole or spilled milk. Accidental, harmless in theory, until you're the one face first in it. I stared at her, and she couldn't meet my eyes. Not once. That was all the confirmation I needed. "You cheated," I said quietly. She didn't deny it. The room was dead quiet, except for the hum of the fridge and whatever was left of my trust breaking apart, molecule by molecule. "I didn't plan for this," she whispered. "No one ever does," I replied. "Not unless they're sociopaths. You just let it happen." Over and over, I bet. She looked like she might cry, but I beat her to the silence. I turned, walked upstairs, and shut the door behind me. Locked it, not because I thought she'd follow, but because I didn't want to find out. I sat on the bed, stared at the wall, and listened to the sound of her footsteps downstairs, soft, uncertain, like someone wandering a crime scene they created. The text didn't shove me. It was her face when I said his name. That was the shove. The text just confirmed gravity exists. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, though, yeah, there was that, but because my brain had already moved into detective mode. You get blindsided once, you want to make sure it never happens again. And trust? That's not a muscle, it's glass. One drop, and you're sweeping forever. At 3:12 a.m., I got out of bed. Elise was asleep on the couch, wrapped in the blanket I bought her last Christmas. Fitting. A little poetic betrayal to match the theme. I went straight to her office, the one she thought I never touched. Booted up her laptop. Password was still our anniversary date. Irony's a real comedian. Now, I wasn't planning to snoop. But you see, I was past planning. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This was inventory. I needed a list of damages before I filed the mental insurance claim. First folder, work stuff. Boring. Second folder, photos. Some old vacation shots. Us in Maui. Us at her sister's wedding. Us at the farmer's market pretending kale mattered. Third folder, untitled. Always look in the untitled folder. That's where the secrets are. It opened to a series of screenshots. Messages. Images. A few too many of Marcus smiling in various degrees of shirtlessness. Some hotel confirmations. Notes like, can't wait to see you again. He has no clue. Yeah, that one stung. But the worst? A Word doc titled Exit Strategy. Docs. I opened it. She'd planned for me to find out eventually. She was weighing options, divorce quietly and spin it as growing apart, or provoke a fight and claim emotional instability. There were bullet points. She had a timeline. She was setting the stage for me to be the bad guy. And that's when I realized I wasn't just cheated on. I was being managed. Like a liability. Like an expense she was trying to write off. So I did what any sane, betrayed man with a backbone and an internet connection would do. I copied every file. Transferred it to a USB drive I had in the drawer, one of those free ones from a conference, with a little company logo on it like a middle finger from fate. Then I powered down, cleaned the mouse, and left everything exactly where I found it. Except now, I had a folder of my own. I didn't confront her the next morning. I didn't throw the USB on the table or scream, aha, like I just cracked a murder case on prime time. No, I made coffee. Real calm-like. French press. Her favorite roast, Sumatra with a hint of chocolate and betrayal. She walked in wearing the same oversized sweater she always did when she wanted to seem harmless. Hair tied back, eyes still crusted with sleep, like none of last night had happened. She even stretched and yawned. Morning, she said, like we were still playing house. I handed her a mug. Morning. She blinked. Took the mug, sipped. Thanks, she said carefully. Like maybe she thought we were in the eye of the storm. Safe, quiet, but just until the walls gave way. She didn't ask if I'd slept. She didn't ask if I was okay. Of course not. You don't check on people you've written exit strategies for. I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, like it was just another Thursday. She hovered near the sink, sipping coffee, watching me sideways. About yesterday, she started. I held up a hand without looking at her. Later. I've got meetings. That was a lie. My calendar was clear. But the beauty of working from home is you can fake a Zoom call better than a politician fakes sincerity. I put on headphones, opened a random PowerPoint, and stared at it for 45 minutes straight, pretending to be busy while she tiptoed around the house. She didn't press. That told me everything. People who are innocent beg to be heard. People with guilt? They wait. They let you boil and hope the heat drops on its own. Around noon, she left for groceries. Left her phone on the counter. Mistake number one. She used to carry that thing like it was surgically attached. But now, she was either slipping or testing me. I checked it anyway. Not to snoop. Just to confirm. And there it was, text messages from Marcus, still warm. Marcus, thinking about last weekend. Still smiling. Marcus, wish you didn't have to sneak around. You deserve better than a man who writes his grocery lists in bullet points. I almost laughed. Grocery lists? That was his attack? Elise, he's just safe. Predictable. I don't think he even suspects anything. You're right, I thought. I don't suspect anything. I know. I locked the phone, placed it right back where it was, and stood in the middle of our living room trying to picture the woman I married inside the one who now lived here. Couldn't do it. They looked the same, sure, but everything else? Different software. Same hardware, new operating system, complete with bugs and bad faith. I spent the rest of the day prepping. Not a tantrum. A strategy. Step 1. Separate finances. I had already opened a new bank account 2 days ago because my instincts, bless them, started screaming before the texts ever came. Transferred half. Left the rest. She'd notice eventually. Step 2. Email everything to myself. Every screenshot. Every file from the USB. Every timestamp, hotel receipt, and gushing text about how she felt alive again. Whatever that meant. Step 3. Call my lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer. Not yet. Just a friend who owed me a favor and happened to know how to protect assets without lighting the house on fire. By the time Elise came home with 2 bags of groceries and a bottle of red wine, her version of peace offering, I was sitting on the back porch, watching the sky turn pink like it cared about my problems. She came out, set the bottle on the table, didn't say anything at first. Then, we should talk. I took a sip of water. Sure. Let's. She sat across from me, that same sweater still draped over her like a costume. She looked tired. Not from guilt. From being caught in limbo. I made a mistake, she said. I nodded. Let her talk. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just, Marcus and I, we were just talking, and it felt different. He made me feel, she paused, searching for the word that wouldn't sound too cruel, noticed. There it was. The classic excuse. He made me feel noticed. Like I'd been walking around with blinders on. Like making coffee every morning, fixing the leaky sink, remembering her mom's birthday every year without fail that didn't count. That wasn't love. That was just me, being safe. I didn't speak. Silence is a mirror. Let people talk long enough. They show you what they see when they look at you. She kept going. I didn't plan anything. And it's not like I don't love you. She shook her head, frustrated. I feel like we stopped seeing each other. I looked at her for a long time before answering. You're right, I said. We did stop seeing each other. Her face lit up, like maybe this was reconciliation. Like maybe the mess was just a temporary glitch. Then I added, but only one of us invited someone else in. That shut it down. She looked down, swallowed. Do you want a divorce? She asked finally. I shook my head. Not yet. She blinked. Then what do you want? What did I want? I wanted honesty. I wanted decency. I wanted the version of her that used to say my name like it meant something. But more than that, I wanted to choose how this ended. Not stumble backward into a lawyer's office because she ran out of guilt. Not be the guy who just disappears from his own marriage like a deleted file. I want time, I said. To think. To plan. And to make sure that when this ends, it ends my way. And then I stood, walked inside, and left her with the wine and the sunset and the silence that, for once, didn't belong to me. There's a strange comfort in knowing you're not crazy. That feeling when someone else confirms the story you didn't want to believe? Yeah, it doesn't make the pain easier, it just makes it real. And real is manageable. Delusion? That's what eats you alive. So I called Owen. Now, Owen and I go back. College roommates. One time I broke my foot at his bachelor party, and he still let me give the best man speech on crutches. He's the kind of guy who never sugarcoats a single thing, which made him perfect for what I needed next. I met him at this little dive bar we both pretend we've outgrown. It smells like regret and buffalo sauce, but the drinks are cold and nobody asks questions. He sat down, took one look at me, and said, So, you look like a guy who just found termites in the walls. Worse, I said. Found a Marcus in my marriage. His eyebrows went up. No. I nodded slowly. Oh, yes. I slid the USB across the table. He picked it up like it might explode. What's on it? Proof. He whistled low. You sure you want me to open Pandora's flash drive? It's already open. I just need to know I'm not seeing ghosts. He plugged it into his laptop right there, because Owen doesn't do suspense. Within 5 minutes, he was leaning back, lips pressed into a tight line, eyes hard. This is professional-grade betrayal, right? He turned the laptop toward me, highlighting one file. October_weekend.jpg. It was a photo Elise had taken with Marcus. Same cabin we'd gone to 2 autumns ago for our anniversary. Same fireplace. Same blanket I bought at that weird little roadside market. Except now, her head was on Marcus' shoulder, and she was laughing like he just rewrote the dictionary. That's my blanket, I said. Don't ask me why that part hit hardest. Owen stared for a long second. Then he said, So what now? You gonna confront her? I already did. Sort of. What did she say? That she feels seen with him. And that I'm safe. Owen made a face. Man, if I had a nickel for every time a woman called a good man safe, right before setting fire to her whole life. Yeah. We sat in silence for a bit, just listening to the hum of the jukebox, which was playing a country song that felt a little too on the nose. Then Owen leaned forward. All right. So do you want to burn it all down? Or do you want to win? That's why I called him. Because Owen understands the difference. I want her to know exactly what she threw away. I want her to feel it when I walk out. Not just like I packed a bag. Like I took the air with me. Owen grinned. Then we build you an exit. The kind people write about. And that's how it started. Step 1. The financial firewall. Owen's brother-in-law is a forensic accountant, the kind who can sniff out hidden accounts faster than a raccoon in a trash can. Within 48 hours, he helped me cleanly redirect my paycheck, isolate our shared investments, and freeze joint access. No drama. Just math. Step 2. The optics game. I updated my LinkedIn photo. I reconnected with people I hadn't talked to in years, people Elise hated because they made me more ambitious. I started posting more. Not thirst traps or revenge quotes. Just enough to make it clear. I was moving. Rising. She was now watching me walk forward without asking her to follow. Step 3. The legal umbrella. I scheduled an appointment with a family attorney under the radar. Not to file anything. Just to prepare. Contingencies. Containment. Clean exits. Step 4. The friendly face. Owen, bless him, made it his mission to gently start informing mutual friends that we were going through something, but that I was handling it with grace. No gossip. Just enough so that if Elise started her own PR campaign later, the ground was already tilted. And while all that was moving, I stayed in the house. Yep, right there under the same roof, sleeping in the guest room, polite to a fault. I washed my dishes. I mowed the lawn. I even complimented her on dinner once, just to mess with her balance. She didn't know what to do with me. One night, she asked, "Are you okay?" I smiled. I'm learning to be. That's when I saw it, the fear. Not that I was angry. Not that I was about to explode. But that I was done. Nothing scares someone more than realizing you've become peaceful without them. Because here's the truth they don't tell you in therapy. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's clarity. And brother, I had never seen so clear in my life. It started as a journal entry. Nothing fancy, just a spiral notebook I kept in the drawer of the guest room nightstand. I didn't intend for it to become anything. I wasn't trying to be poetic or dramatic. I was just trying to get the thoughts out before they turned into ulcers. But the more I wrote, the more the shape of it shifted. It wasn't just ramblings anymore. It started reading like a letter. Not a letter begging for closure or demanding answers, just one meant to say what needed saying. A final entry before signing off. By the end of the second page, I knew I was writing to Elise. I didn't write it to hurt her. I wrote it so I wouldn't forget. Because when you spend enough time trying to keep the peace, you start editing your own memories to make them more tolerable. Here's what I wrote. Elise, you always said I was too quiet, that I bottled things up, that I didn't fight for us the way you wanted. I used to think you meant you wanted more passion. Now I understand. You wanted more resistance. You wanted someone to push back, yell, throw plates maybe. Because that's how you measured feeling. Noise. But that was never me. You knew that when you met me. You knew it when I held your hair back the night your father died and you couldn't stop shaking. You knew it when I fixed that drafty window you kept pretending wasn't there. You knew it every time I stood beside you silently at parties, letting you be the loud one, the spark, the flame. And maybe you got bored. Maybe I became a habit. Predictable. Familiar. Maybe safety started to feel like stagnation to you. So you found Marcus. The wild card. The guy who wears shirts that don't tuck in and probably calls his mom by her first name. Do I hate him? No, not really. Hating Marcus would mean I'm blaming the thief instead of asking why the doors were unlocked in the first place. You let him in. But here's the part one don't think you understand. I saw you. Every day. I noticed every little detail. The way your left eyebrow twitched when you were about to lie. The chipped nail polish you refused to fix because it'll just chip again. The playlist you updated when you were feeling stuck. You think Marcus makes you feel alive. I hope he does. I truly do. Because it would be a shame for all of this, what we built and what you torched, to be sacrificed just for a thrill. As for me, I'm not angry anymore. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. It cracked me in ways I didn't know a human heart could crack without falling apart entirely. But something beautiful crawled out of those cracks. Clarity. I don't want you back. I don't want an apology. I just want you to know that I loved you. Fully. Quietly. Honestly. And that I'm taking that version of myself with me when I go. The man who made your coffee, who rubbed your feet during flu season, who memorized your insurance number because you never could, that man isn't available anymore. You don't get to reach for him later when the smoke clears and the adrenaline wears off. Because the next woman who finds him, she won't have to ask if she's seen. She'll know. And so will I. Goodbye. N. I tore the letter out of the notebook, folded it once, and sealed it in an envelope. Just a plain white one. Nothing dramatic. No, read me, and bold. No scented paper or closure wax seal like a Shakespearean breakup scroll. Just words on a page and the final echo of who I had been. Now, I didn't plan to give it to her. I kept it tucked into the back of my journal for 3 days. Thought about burning it. Thought about leaving it on her pillow like a literary mic drop. But in the end, I did something even simpler. I put it in her gym bag, right in the little side pocket she never checked. The same one where she used to keep a spare charger and her lucky hair tie. I didn't do it to be sneaky. I did it because I wanted her to read it on her own terms, without me watching, without theatrics. Just her, alone, with the truth she left behind. And then I waited. For 2 days, nothing changed. She moved through the house like normal, maybe a little quieter, maybe a little too careful around me. But she never mentioned the letter. I started to wonder if she'd found it at all. Then one night, I came home from a walk and found the living room dim, the only light coming from the TV she hadn't turned on. She was sitting on the couch, knees tucked to her chest, holding the envelope in her hands like it might disintegrate if she gripped it too hard. She looked up when I entered. Didn't speak. I nodded at the letter. You read it. She nodded back. Eyes glassy. Voice small. I didn't know you felt all that. That's the thing about people like me, I said. We don't feel less. We just don't broadcast it. She opened her mouth. Closed it again. I turned and walked to the guest room. That night, she didn't try to follow me. She didn't text me from the next room or knock or ask if we could talk. She just sat there, holding a letter she didn't expect, from a man she thought she knew. By now, it wasn't a question of if I'd leave. It was just a matter of when, and how clean I could make the cut. That's the part most people don't get. Leaving someone you've loved, even after betrayal, isn't a sprint out the door. It's a blueprint. A slow, calculated exit where every drawer is checked twice, every string is untied, not snapped. I wasn't walking away from just her. I was stepping out of a decade of routines, a dozen mutual friendships, a life we built like a sandcastle. Beautiful, temporary, and apparently doomed from the start. So I built my goodbye like a project plan. First step, logistics. I got a storage unit. Nondescript, out of town, 24-hour access. I started moving my things a little at a time, books she never touched, sweaters she always borrowed and forgot in the dryer, my tools, my photo albums. Not the ones on our shelf, but the private stash. The ones from before her. High school, college. Life when my name was mine alone. Every time she asked where I was going, I said, work stuff. She stopped asking after a while. Second step, housing. Owen's buddy, a guy named Phil who owned a real estate firm, got me a short-term rental. Month to month. Fully furnished. Comes with a kettle, a creaky balcony, and the exact amount of space I need to start from zero. It's not glamorous, but it doesn't smell like betrayal, and that's enough for now. Third step, the letter drop. I had one more letter to write. Not to Elise. This one was for our mutuals. The couple friends. The group chat people. The ones who'd hear two sides and wonder which was real. I kept it short. Hey, just a heads up. Elise and I are separating. No drama. No smear campaign. She made some choices, I made some decisions, and we're parting ways. If we're ever in the same room again, don't make it weird. No sides need picking. Just peace. Nate. No rage. No accusations. Just dignity. I scheduled it to send 2 hours after I walked out the door. That way, she wouldn't get to spin the story first. Fourth step, the goodbye kit. Yeah, I made a kit. Call it sentimental or surgical, but I needed closure in a box. Inside, one USB drive labeled, in case you forget. A copy of the letter I gave her, just in case she tried to pretend I never said what I said. My wedding ring, placed in the small velvet box it came in. Still fit, still burned. A photograph. The one we took in Vermont, before everything cracked. She looked at me like I hung the moon. I kept it in the kit so I could remember that version of her existed once. Briefly, just not long enough. I placed the kit in her dresser drawer. The one she never lets me touch, next to the scarf she never wears and the perfume bottles she keeps for display. And then came the final step, the goodbye itself. It was a Wednesday. Gray sky, mild breeze. I left at 10:03 a.m., not to be poetic, but because I knew she'd be at her yoga class until noon. She was consistent, if nothing else. I left no note. No last look back. Just my keys in the bowl, like always. The house didn't feel angry or cold. It just felt empty. Like it had exhaled after holding its breath for months. Maybe it had been waiting for me to go, too. I drove to the new place, unpacked a few things, and sat on the little balcony with a mug of terrible coffee and a better sense of self than I'd felt in years. At 12:17 p.m., my phone lit up. Elise, where are you? Elise, did you take the photo from the dresser? Elise, what is this? Elise, you left? Just like that? Elise, Nate, we need to talk. Please, please just answer. I didn't respond, because the answer was already in the drawer. In the silence. In the space I'd left behind that couldn't be filled with yoga or Marcus or carefully crafted excuses. By 1:04 p.m., she called. I let it ring. By 2:09 p.m., she emailed me. Subject line, I didn't think you'd actually go. That one made me laugh. Not bitter. Just amused. Of course she didn't. Because people like her never believe the wallpaper will walk off the wall. But I did. I walked. Not with drama. Not with vengeance. With clarity. With intention. With every ounce of peace a man earns when he decides his worth isn't up for debate anymore. That night, I sat on the floor of my new place with takeout and a beer and music playing on my phone. Nothing curated. Just shuffled. And wouldn't you know it, a song came on that used to be ours. One of those sweet, soft tracks we played on road trips when our hands still found each other automatically. I let it play. Not because I missed her, but because I didn't. She showed up 3 days later. I knew she would. People like Elise don't let go without a final act. Their version of closure usually looks more like control. She didn't call ahead. Just knocked. 3 short taps. Like a neighbor borrowing sugar. I opened the door, already dressed like I wasn't staying long. Button down, watch on, keys in hand. Casual indifference with just a sprinkle of inconvenience. Nate, she said, breathless. Like she'd run, not from across town, but from realizing I wasn't orbiting her anymore. Elise. I stepped aside. Didn't invite her in. Just allowed it. She walked in slowly, looking around like the apartment might punch her. This is where you've been? I nodded. Somewhere that doesn't pretend. She winced like I'd slapped her. That's not fair. Neither was Marcus. She exhaled. I didn't come here to fight. I walked to the kitchenette, poured myself water. Didn't offer her any. Then why did you come? I read the letter again, she said, voice soft. All of it this time. I figured. And I didn't expect you to leave like that. No warning. No goodbye. Elise, you wrote an exit strategy. On your laptop. Bullet pointed. Forgive me for taking the hint. She closed her eyes. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Then how was it supposed to be? I leaned against the counter. I'd unravel slowly while you got your thrills in secret. You'd hand me papers when you found someone better at making you laugh. It wasn't about better. No. I took a step toward her. Then what was it? Because all I ever tried to be was enough. That silenced her. For a minute. Then she whispered, you were. I just didn't know it until I lost you. I laughed. Dry. You didn't lose me. You gave me away. There's a difference. She started to cry. The quiet kind. The tears that hoped to win you over without saying anything. But I didn't move. Not because I didn't care. Because I finally did, about myself. I want to try, she said suddenly. To fix this. Us. You want to fix it now that the wreckage is obvious? I made a mistake, Nate. One I regret. And I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking anyway. I stared at her for a long time. The thing about second chances, I said, is that they only work when the first one wasn't thrown in a ditch. She nodded slowly. So that's it. That's it. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. You still have that photo. Of us. Vermont. I do. Why? Because once, we were real. And I want to remember that version of us. Not the one you buried. She left without another word. The door clicked behind her like a period at the end of a sentence no one's rewriting. After that, everything moved faster. The paperwork was easy. Easier than I expected, actually. Elise didn't fight me. Maybe she knew it wouldn't matter. Maybe she thought agreeing quickly might soften the truth. It didn't. I kept the things that mattered, my memories, my name, my dignity. She kept the house, the furniture, the friendships built on brunches and secrets. We didn't divide the dog. There wasn't one. We didn't divide kids. Thank God there weren't any. We just untangled the ropes and let the sails drop. Owen helped me move the last box out of storage. It took us 12 minutes. 10 of those were spent laughing about how one of my boxes was labeled tools, but only had a French press and 2 hammers. You sure you're done? He asked as we loaded the final one into my car. Yeah, I'm done. Not just with her? With the version of myself that needed her. Owen nodded. That guy was tired. I drove to my new apartment, one with sunlight and strange creaks in the floor and no ghosts in the closets. and I unpacked like a man who'd survived a storm and somehow found the shore. A week later, I got a final envelope in the mail. From Elise. No return address, but her handwriting was a giveaway. Inside, a single photograph. Us in Vermont. But altered. She'd drawn a thin black line between us. Not across our faces, just down the middle. Like a fault line. Like she understood, finally, how far apart we were even when we looked close. No note. No apology. Just the line. I pinned it to my bulletin board. A reminder. Not of her, but of me. The man who stood there, smiling, trying. Months passed. The seasons changed. Elise faded. I didn't date for a while, not because I was afraid, but because I was rebuilding. Not repairing. Rebuilding. There's a difference. One morning, I was walking through the park when I saw a man folding a blanket with his wife. She was laughing, one of those forehead tilted back laughs, and he just watched her like it was the first time. I didn't envy him. I understood him. He looked free. That's the thing. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for her to say sorry or for karma to knock politely. I had what I wanted. Distance. Peace. The unshakable knowledge that I didn't stay where I wasn't wanted. And then, I saw Marcus. Not on purpose. Just at a gas station. He was alone. Looked tired. Didn't recognize me, just muttered a thanks when I held the door. But I recognized him. And I smiled. Because the final move wasn't revenge. It wasn't a confrontation or a monologue or some dramatic scene in the rain. It was indifference. It was watching the man she chose instead of me pump gas into a beat-up sedan while I drove off, windows down, music up, and not feeling a damn thing. I didn't destroy her. I didn't need to. She did that all by herself. And me? I survived. But more than that, I got better. And that, my friend, is the sweetest ending she never saw coming.